Okay, this video is now continuing with our top 50 books of all time. For this video, we're going to go through books numbers 26 through 30. And the first book is called Brain Disabling Treatments in Psychiatry. The author's name is Peter Breggin. Peter Breggin is widely considered the greatest psychiatrist to ever live. After studying the pharmacology of the drugs used by psychiatrists, neuropsychopharmacology, he came to the conclusion essentially that they're all bad. That basically they all cause a gradual, slowly worsening, progressive chemical lobotomy. So it's rather amazing. And when you first hear that, you say, oh, that must be an exaggeration. But when you look more closely at these drugs, you'd be amazed at how toxic they are. For example, there was tremendous enthusiasm with Prozac back in the 1980s, 1990s. But as more and more information has come out about the side effects of Prozac, there's articles in the journals recommending it be used for cancer chemotherapy. That's how toxic it is. I thought the book was excellent. This is the best book you'll find on reading about the details of the side effects of psychiatric medications. And they're bad. They're really bad. An electroshock. It's insane to just randomly run electrical current through a person's brain. Of course that's going to cause destruction of brain cells, okay? And then the surgical treatments are pretty bad as well. So basically 3 flavors of lobotomy in modern psychiatry: pharmaceutical, electrical, or surgical. And he's real nice. What he says is the most important thing in psychiatry is you have to love the patient. And I'm telling you, that's why I talk about this religious stuff. The reason why healthcare is so bad is because the system hates the patients, because it's much more profitable to poison people with drugs that don't work than to be nice to them and tell them the truth. And that's never going to change unless it has a Bible-based worldview. And the big players at the top who are making the most money from it, they're never going to allow it to change because they're making a lot of money. They don't want it to change. And it's so obvious. All you have to do is think for 1 minute. Would you poison a child? And the average person would not poison a child. Not for $10, not for $100, not for $1,000, not for $10,000. But, the big players at the top, they'll poison a kid for $5, okay? And they run the show. And then the big medical centers and the Ivy League type places, their professors have to kiss butt to the drug industry, the insurance industry, etc., because that's how they get grant money to get promoted so they can, get us prestige and a salary. And that's why the big medical centers are fake, because everything runs on the standard of care, which is the lowest common denominator for intoxicated, stupid people. Okay, what I mean by that is an intelligent person can say, I don't want just the standard of care, only if it's the same thing as optimal care. And quite often, optimal care means things like fix your diet, get your sleep, quit caffeine, no substance abuse, exercise, become religious. Okay. All right, now the next book here is called Drug-Induced Dementia. Oh, did I skip a book? No, 26, 27, right. Drug-Induced Dementia by Grace Jackson. She's another psychiatrist, very smart lady. She reviewed all the papers showing how psychiatry drugs cause dementia. Yes, they are chemical lobotomy. And she goes through a lot of papers, through animal studies on how they cause dementia. It's for real. She has an online lecture that was pretty good as well. And Breggin also has online lectures on YouTube. Okay, here's Robert Whitaker. He also has online lectures on YouTube. And he talks about how terrible the side effects are from these drugs. He's pretty famous for talking about the side effects of attention deficit drugs, but it's not just attention deficit drugs. Of course, it's also the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors for treatment of depression. It's also the benzodiazepines, like Xanax, Ritalins for attention deficit. It's also lithium for treatment of bipolar disease. These are toxic drugs, really toxic, not kind of toxic, really toxic. Okay, now here's a guy who came along a long time ago, early 1960s and stuff. This is Thomas Szasz, and he's a physician, he's a psychiatrist, and his book right here, The Myth of Mental Illness, was kind of a shocker when it first came out. And he basically said that psychiatry stigmatizes people. It labels them with these sort of foul names. It kind of reminds me of like Freud. Freud would, basically humiliate the patient, okay? And here's some of the things he says, Thomas Szasz. Labeling a child as mentally ill is a stigmatization, not a diagnosis. Giving a child a psychiatric drug is poisoning. It is not treatment. Okay, that's the truth. All right, clear thinking requires courage rather than intelligence. That's the truth too. If you're a medical student, if you're a young doctor, and you've got, hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loan debt, you've been spending your whole life in school, your friends are out, they've got jobs, they've got wives, they've got money, they've got children. They kind of have a well-rounded life in comparison with you. You get a little jealous, okay? And the only way you're ever going to be able to buy a house, attract a woman, and be able to support a family is you got to sell drugs. So the smart thing to do, medicine's very hierarchical. There's always somebody above you in the hierarchy in some way. You basically have to respect the hierarchy, do as you're told, and sell those drugs and go as fast as you can. Because the faster the doctor goes, the more billing codes they generate. That's where the money comes from. But the only problem with all that is it doesn't really help the patient, okay? You help the drug companies, you help the bean counter or wherever place you work, you help the insurance companies, you help yourself for making money. Everybody benefits except the patient. The patient's the chump. So anyways, Thomas Shaw's The Myth of Mental Illness, he's got lots of good quotes, and he really puts it out there. You'll see how blunt he is about the problems with healthcare. He's got tons of great quotes. I made a separate video about him if you want to watch it. Okay, the next one is the Food Forensics. Food Forensics by Mike Adams. It's the best book about food toxicology. There's plenty of other books about food toxicology that are pretty good, but this is the best one. And he has a machine to measure the amount of toxins in different foods. And it's quite good. There's an audio CD book that goes with this. But I think this is, if you're looking for a book to kind of systematically go through food toxicology, this would be the best introductory book, Food Forensics. Okay, and that's it. I hope that was helpful for books numbers 26 through 30.